I'll just read that. And we're doing 1.4. I'll put that on there too, just so it makes sense to us. Okay. Perhaps algebra's most distinguishing characteristic is the use of letters to represent numbers. The numbers those letters represent can vary and are not known depending on the situation. For this reason, that's why they're called variables, okay? And so the most common one is what?
A.
I suppose we do use A's, but for some reason they pick X all the time.
Oh, yeah,
The
X.
most
I
common
just see
one is
X
all the time. And it's actually kind of nice to make your variable, if it's ever a word problem, if they're talking about cost, make it the letter C. If they're talking about time, make it a T, and so forth. That way you'll know what you found when you're done. It's nice to make them relevant. And they show us an example here of C equaling 2 pi r. These two are variables because they'll change depending on the situation. Right. This one, even though it's a letter, is not a variable because it's always 3.14, 159, and so forth. So this one over here is not a variable. It's actually called a constant, and we're going to talk about that next. It stays the same. And so the word variable means it varies, it changes. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So then, in contrast to variables, a constant is a number or a symbol whose value never changes. For you've had constants all your life until algebra. One is a constant and never changes. The value always is a 1. 2 is a constant. Pi is a constant. There's other constants in mathematics. The letter E is a constant that you can see in higher level math, and they pick all. There's a lot of other ones too. Pi is the one that you're going to see most often. Okay.
Okay.
All right. They're never going to change. They're going to stay constant. Okay, like
all
Jesus, he doesn't change. Same always and always. Okay. Algebraic expression is the next one. It's a group of numbers, variables, and symbols of mathematical operations. So, for example, e plus 3. This is a mathematical expression, and usually we have some kind of operation in between. We don't have to, but usually we do. And so this one even has it here for you: s plus 7 times s again. S is a hard one to have as a variable. I write s's. They almost look like 5, so I have to be very careful. Now, one thing you need to be cautious of, there's going to be one in a little bit we're going to use, it's going to be equation. Terrible handwriting. Equation. This is not an equation, okay? This is not an equation, it's an expression. The difference is, I'm going to make it even similar to this. E plus 3 equals 7. This is an equation. The difference is I have an equal, and hence that the beginning of equation has almost the word equal in it. So an expression does not have an equal. Depending on what E is, will change what this value is.
Right.
Equation, you are finding the value of E, and it won't be, you'll have to find it, and it can only be one thing, sometimes, okay?
All right.
All right, so we're going to do something with an expression. We're going to evaluate it, and I'm going to actually write those words because I want to make sure you understand what the evaluate means. Okay, when I'm evaluating, I am, a lot of times I'm substituting in, or I am finding the value of that expression.
Okay.
And it's not the same as solving an equation, because your variable can be different things. So if I have an expression, 6 times 5 plus y plus 10 plus y, they're going to, if they want you to evaluate an expression, they have to tell you what the value for the variable is. You cannot do anything if you didn't have something that told you what the variable was equals. Okay, so then we take this and we plug in the 14 for it. So when you're doing your homework, you'll write the problem, and then when you plug this in, you'll bring down the 6, you'll bring down the 14 instead of that y, and you'll bring down the 14 again for the y. We'll just substitute it right in, okay?
Okay.
And then we use order of operations Do I do the multiplication or the addition first?
Multiplication.
Multiplication. So this is going to be 30 plus that 14 plus 10 plus 14. And we just learned that you can do addition in any order.
Right.
Now, left to right sometimes might be easier, but a lot of times it's not, because I have these 14s. Maybe it's easier to do those
24.
first, or those are 24, because I can do this in any order.
44,
So I could do those as
24.
24, and that's going to be 40. We could do it that way, or there's lots of different things we could do. So I could do that 40 plus that. What did I say that was?
That at 24 or 28.
It's 28,
Sorry,
right? And so then we can do those, and that's going to be how much?
68.
Good job. Okay. So to
Great.
evaluate the expression, we just plug the variable in, and
Okay.
you cannot do anything unless they tell you what the variable
Okay.
is. Okay. So then we're going to talk about multiplication in algebra. In that last problem I used an x, but because x is a variable, we'll get it confused. Is that 6x or is that 6 times? So there's a couple ways we can do that for multiplication. We can just put a parentheses. We could put 2 parentheses. We could put a dot between them. Or we could put a parentheses and a dot. Okay, but it's best not to use that a multiplication. But you can. Calculators have it all the time. You could make a star. And on a computer, if you ever go to a website and you have to do something with multiply, the symbol will be your asterisk above the letter 8, I think, on the shift.
Oh, okay.
And so, so if I want to, mathematicians, they like to shorten things so that things don't take as much room on the paper, or they don't have to write as much. So if instead of us writing 4.x or 4 parentheses x, if we just write the 4 next to the x, that means multiply automatically.
Okay.
Okay. And then if I'm doing a bunch of letters, x, y, and z, instead of us putting parentheses or dots, we can just take them all out and write them right next to each other. And when I do my z's, I like to put those lines in them because they start looking like 2's if I get too slow. And so that means we can condense things down. Okay?
All right.
We have one more vocabulary word, and it's coefficient. Okay. If I have a 6x, that means 6 times x. Okay. This was the variable, and the coefficient is 6. Okay. The number in front of the variable. Did we talk about that once before in a lesson? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Oh, we did. Okay. All right. We're done. I think.
Problem?
Yes, problems after that. Woohoo! We're done.
Yeah.